Cleveland stakes their claim as the best team in the league. Ja Morant gets ejected on a real bad call, and more in today's episode of Locked On NBA Game Night. Let's go.
When that final buzzer rings, you know it's time for Locked On NBA Game Night. All the post-game reactions to every game across the league, every single night, with insights only the hosts at Locked On can provide. It's the true NBA fans' one stop for all the action. Every game, every night. It's Locked On NBA Game Night. Tipping off now.
Welcome to another edition of Locked On NBA Game Night. Every game, every night. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. On Fridays, I'm your co-host, Jake Madison, at Nola Jake on Twitter, and the host of the Locked On Pelicans podcast.
And I'm John Karalis, at John_Karalis on Twitter, and host of the Locked On Celtics podcast.
Today's episode of Locked On NBA Game Night is brought to you by FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. We had 8 games in the association last night, some really good ones, too. A close ending in New Orleans, a real bad ejection. But, John, let's start with the Cleveland Cavaliers beating the Denver Nuggets 126-114. Let's go to Danny Cunningham of the Locked On Cavaliers podcast.
Danny Cunningham here at Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse after the Cleveland Cavaliers beat the Denver Nuggets 126-114. Let's talk for 94 feet about this one. I thought the Cavs defense played really, really well tonight. They did a great job of running the Denver Nuggets off the line. Now, Denver's not a super high volume three-point shooting team, but they are one of the best teams in terms of percentage. I believe they entered tonight third in the NBA in three-point shooting percentage. The Cavs held them to just 6 makes. That's a really impressive thing. That has been something that has been a bit of an Achilles heel for this Cavs defense. So seeing them be as good as they were tonight, a really good sign. Offensively, the Cavs had 4 guys score 20 points or more tonight. That was a really good thing to see. Karis LeVert looked like he got his rhythm back. He had, I believe, 21 points off the bench, hit a handful of three-pointers. Really, really strong night for him. Donovan Mitchell had 28 points. Darius Garland had a good night. Evan Mobley had a good night. He hit 3 threes. That's a really good sign as well. But this was one of the more impressive wins that the Cavs have had so far this season against what I think is a pretty good Denver Nuggets team. So now they go on the road. 2 games, Charlotte, Miami, back-to-back Saturday and Sunday. I'll talk to you after those.
I don't know if I'd call Denver a really good team, but this is a pretty strong win, I think, for the Cleveland Cavaliers, kind of cementing them at the top of the league, it feels like.
Well, as the Celtics guy, sure. For now. Yeah, no, look, this is, I mean, you could, if you're the Denver Nuggets, look at it and just say, hey, look, they hit 22 3-pointers. You don't usually give up 22 made 3-pointers and win when they hit 6. So I don't know. I'm not doing the math right now. But what's that? So, okay, 16 3-pointers, 36, 12, 8, 48 points that you've been outscored by in the 3-point line. How about that, huh?
That's good math there on the fly, buddy.
So to only lose the game by 12 is actually impressive, especially when you lost the Nikola Jokic minutes, which never happens.
So that's the big thing to me in this one is Jokic was -8. They lost the Jokic minutes, and if you're going to lose those, this team's going to lose the game, right? Like, It's really as simple as that. He had a bad third quarter. He went 2 of 7 in that quarter for just 4 points. Had a couple of assists in there, but it was that third quarter that basically watching this game when he didn't play too well, you were like, oh, the game's done. And that probably shouldn't be the case for a Denver Nuggets team where Jokic has one bad quarter and you're like, yep, cool, we're cooked. And that's the feeling I got watching this one here.
Especially when he put up a triple-double, 27 points, 20 rebounds, 11 assists, 27, 20, and 11. And you're a
and you
-8.
lose those minutes, right?
That says much more about the surrounding players and not as much about him necessarily.
Yeah.
He also had 3 steals, just 3 turnovers. Like it's look, Denver, their problems are very well documented. I think they got a little too cute this past offseason, and it's been costing them. And I don't know if as the season progresses, Denver will find its stride, but I will give them the benefit of time. You can talk about the standings and how they're the 8th seed, but they're only 5 games out of first and 1 game out of the 5th seed. So that's not, I'm not worried about that as much for them. Cleveland, on the other hand, held off the Boston Celtics in their last matchup. They are now 20-3, the first 20 game winning team in the league. And they've shown that they all season long have been able to overcome a lot of the things that were plaguing them last year. Their offense was not a hallmark of theirs in the past. Now it is. They're putting up a ton of points. And then on top of it, when you get Evan Mobley hitting 3-pointers, like that is such a game changer for the Cavs. That's been the big knock on him. Will you start taking 3-pointers? 3 of 5. Obviously, you're not going to get 60% out of him every night. But you know what? 5 good 3-pointers out of Evan Mobley a night. Like, get him comfortable shooting those. That's just going to make it so the Cavs can hang with other great offenses even better. And like against the Celtics, especially, because that's going to be the team they're going to have to go through. You're going to have to play this game. You're going to have to play the 22 for 48 from 3 game to have that chance against Boston. So to see that performance here now, anytime Mobley can get confidence, anytime their shooters can get confidence, it's a good sign for Cleveland.
Yeah, when you have that many guys clicking offensively, they're going to be tough, right? You heard Danny mention it. Karis LeVert off the bench with 21 points. They kind of needed that sort of explosion from him. They've been relying on Dean Wade a lot, and I don't know how sustainable that is. But getting a guy like Karis LeVert going gives them that kind of depth. And then, I don't know, just makes them a little bit scarier, right? You had Donovan Mitchell, 28 points in this one. Darius Garland, 24. As Danny said, 4 guys in 20 or more points here. It's a pretty formidable team, and you're getting kind of everything you need. Can show you that, like, making the right coaching change can really unlock a team versus blowing it all up. It's nice to see that play a whole lot of dividends here. Let's also quickly look at the Dallas Mavericks crushing the Washington Wizards, 137-101. Luka Doncic, triple-double, shocking, 21 points, 10 rebounds, 10 assists. Wizards have lost how many games in a row?
Can we just call them the Washington Generals? Can we just call them
basically.
That? 16 losses in a row. Like they're just out there to lose to a good team. With exceptional ball handlers. Like that's what every Washington basketball team knows. Like that's your job.
Like seriously, like there's not much else to say in this one, right? This is a team that is now the Mavs are now 9-1 in their last 10, and the Washington Wizards are 0 for 16 in their last 16.
It's so bad. It's so bad. Why don't we just send the Wizards from downtown Washington over to Georgetown? Let's get the Hoyas into the Capital One Arena and just see how that goes for a little bit.
Yeah, I don't think that's a bad idea. I don't think we need to say any more about that game. Go listen to Locked On Mavs. Go listen to Locked On Wizards if you want to more about the specifics of that one. But coming up next, you saw the Golden State Warriors have a surprising hero. No Steph, no Draymond Green in this one, and they still get the win. Let's take a look at the Golden State Warriors taking on the Houston Rockets. That's coming up here next in today's episode of Locked On NBA Game Night. Today's episode of Locked On NBA Game Night is brought to you by Robinhood. With Robinhood Gold, you don't need a silver spoon to eat up the financial favors of the 1%. Robinhood Gold allows others to get the rates and perks usually reserved for the high society. Now, the resourceful individual with Robinhood Gold can earn the very liberal rate of 4.25% APY on uninvested cash and be rewarded with a handsome 3% retirement boost on IRA contributions. Robinhood Gold provides the privileges of a high net worth for any net worth. These generous benefits are now available for only $5 a month. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. Sign up at robinhood.com/gold. Terms apply for specific product disclosures. Visit robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risk. Rate may change. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold LLC. And thank you for making Locked On NBA Game Night every night your first listen today. Now go sign up for your favorite team's Locked On newsletter. Monday through Friday coming to your inbox. One stop for ultimate team and league coverage. You can sign up over at lockedondaily.com. Scroll down till you see your favorite team's logo. Click on that. Pop in your email. You're going to get great content right into your inbox every single morning. All right, John, let's take a look at the Golden State Warriors downing the Houston Rockets without Steph Curry, without Draymond Green. Let's kick it over to Jackson Gatlin of the Locked On Rockets podcast.
Houston Rockets fall to the Golden State Warriors 99-93, despite the Warriors not having either of their best players available in this one. No Steph Curry, no Draymond Green. What's up? This is Jackson Gatlin, host of Locked On Rockets. And man, the Houston Rockets now 15 straight losses to the Golden State Warriors, tying a franchise record for consecutive losses to the same opponent. They just can't get past the Warriors. Doesn't matter who's on the court or not on the court for them. This might be the most disappointing collective effort by the Rockets all season long. Poor effort, poor focus, poor attention to detail, and credit to the Warriors defense, but the Rockets just kept shooting themselves in the foot this game. They missed so many point-blank layups. Alperen Sengun couldn't get it going offensively until the fourth and final quarter. Too little, too late at that point. And despite the Rockets' offensive struggles, 37.6% from the floor, 26.3% from downtown, they made it a 4-point game with just over a minute and a half left. Jalen Green, with a brutal turnover, drove downhill, kicked it back out, turned it over. Rockets could have cut it to a one-possession game and had a chance to win this one despite how poorly they played across the board. Couldn't get it done, couldn't get over the hill, and they've got to turn right back around in less than a week and face a more than likely full-strength Warriors team in the NBA Cup quarterfinals match.
All right. He kind of laid it out, right? You actually heard Ime Udoka after this one say that he thought this was the softest the Houston Rockets have played this season. Yeah, that kind of sums it up here. Sorry. We'll get you on. There we go.
There we are. I love that Ime is unafraid to call out his team. It's a young team. Ime's a hard coach. He coaches them hard. And I think that's part of why they've been so good so quickly. But you're going to have games like this. This is one of the easiest kind of letdown games when you're feeling yourself. When you're a young team and you're like, we got this. Look how good we are. You start believing your hype. You come into a Warriors game, like we said, no Steph, no Draymond, and you're like, this is whatever. Like we're gonna win this easily because we're so good. So there's, I think, important lessons on both sides of this game. The Rockets get the lesson of like, you haven't accomplished a damn thing. So you got to come into every single game ready to take the other team's best. Meanwhile, the Warriors have not been finishing games very well. Their clutch numbers are terrible. And you got Kuminga as kind of like the future of the franchise or part of the franchise future. I don't know if that's your actual centerpiece or part of the core, but he's a guy that they're looking to, and career high 33 points, shot the ball well.
He closed it out for him. Like he was clutch in this game. Like he was the guy getting the layups. He was the guy that was like, oh, we need a bucket on this possession. And they went to Kuminga and he really delivered. I thought that was a pretty impressive performance from him. 33 points, as you mentioned, 13 of 22 shooting. He was 3 of 6 from deep, 4 of 6 from the free throw line. He had, where was his rebound? 6 rebounds, points. 2 assists. Yeah, he was great.
14 points in the fourth quarter, 6 of 8. I mean, that's closing the game out. So that's impressive. And again, important that a young guy, when your stars are out, he has that ability to step it up. And anytime young guys get confidence, I'm a big confidence guy because I think just playing with confidence is such a game changer. When you can play freely and not worry about perception, you're not worried about, there's this guy ahead of me and I need to be doing, XYZ. When you can just play with that confidence, you play free. It's that you see what you see from Kuminga. And I know that Golden State Warriors fans are excited about him and his potential down the line. This is an important game for him to be able to close this one out.
Yeah, I also thought Wiggins was pretty key for the Warriors too. Not just the 23 points, 9 boards from him and the shooting 3 or 4 from deep, but his defense was really on point too. And I thought that's something that they've needed from him. Wiggins to kind of be that guy that kind of holds it down on the perimeter for him. That was a really good performance from him in this one as well. Those were like the two guys that really just paced the Warriors. They didn't have anyone else get into double figures other than those two, and they still managed to kind of gut out the win, which I think really says something. It helps when Houston just cannot shoot in this game. That's 37% from the field, right? Like, you look at their starters, Dylan Brooks, 15 points on 13 shots. It's not great. Şengün, 16 points on 15 shots. 14 points on 16 shots for Jalen Green. Fred VanVleet, 13 on 16. Sometimes it's just you have a bad game and you trash this one. By the way, this is the first losing streak for the Rockets this season. They've lost two in a row, right?
That's amazing to me that they've come out to this start. Now, again, early, it's December 6th. So there's time for a little bit of a regression, but Ime has this team playing great and playing his style of basketball, gritty, hardcore defense. Maybe not in this game, but overall. And look, this is how a guy becomes coach of the year, when you've got a team playing at an unexpected level and following your kind of blueprint. That's I would say that he's the front runner for that, but I am impressed
over Atkinson with Cleveland.
Yes, because the Cavaliers were good last year. Not that Kenny Atkinson doesn't deserve some recognition, but this is the formula for coach of the year, that you've got to be good, but you got to be surprisingly good. And
that's fair.
Cavs are surprisingly good because of how many games they've won, but also the Rockets were not supposed to be like the second seed.
Yeah, that's
at
fair.
This point. So, well, it's a long season to go, but I would say at this point, Ime is probably at the front of the pack.
Look, he's a good coach no matter what. Let's move on to the New York Knicks beating the Charlotte Hornets 125-101. Big third quarter for the Knicks. They won that one 38-16. That was basically it at that point. What stands out to you in this one here?
Basically it after the third quarter, Jake. So great opportunity for the Knicks to get some guys some rest ahead of it. And look, Mikal Bridges played 46 and a half minutes. Karl Anthony Towns played 39 and a half minutes. Josh Hart, 38 and a half minutes. OG Anunoby, 39 and a half minutes. What is Tom Thibodeau doing?
Tom Thibodeau is being Tom Thibodeau. For the record, Jalen Brunson only played 27 minutes, didn't play in the fourth, left a little bit injured. They didn't need to put him back in, so they didn't. That's 3 straight fourth quarters that Brunson has not played in, for the record here, but everyone else played.
I was doing a piece on the Celtics for Boston Sports Journal, where I'm a beat writer covering the Celtics. And I was looking at the lineup data for like just the top lineups minutes wise. And I think Atlanta had used their top lineup like 200 something minutes. New York used their top limits going into their top lineup going into this game, 356 minutes, which was more than 100 minutes than the top team, and like more than twice as much as any other team in like number 3, number 4, number 5. They are, look, I know this is the low-hanging fruit. I know it is. But it is the biggest issue facing the Knicks. They are once again going to run out of gas somewhere before or in the early stages of the playoffs. Like Karl Anthony Towns is going to run out of gas. He's not used to playing 39 minutes a game. It's just not going to work. I don't know why somebody like kidnapped Tom Thibodeau, hypnotize him with a little watch, and be like, you're going to arrest your guys in blowouts, and just get something. It absolutely blows my mind. It's
Tibbs is gonna Tibbs. That's what he does.
It's the thing that hurts him the most all the time. All right, I'm gonna stop.
Tibbs is gonna Tibbs. Go check out Locked On Knicks to see if they think it's an issue here for everyone listening. Quickly touch on the Chicago Bulls beating the San Antonio Spurs 139-124. No Wemby in this game, so that's an important point. But Vucevic is playing super good basketball this season.
Yeah, I mean, in his last few games, he scored 39 in this one, 21 against Brooklyn, 32 against Boston. He is on a nice little stretch. He's kind of playing at his all-star kind of level right now for Chicago. Not that it means much, but he's out there and hitting from three. He's shooting like 40+% from three this season. He's having an incredible season. Maybe that makes him tradable, which is the only thing that Chicago cares about.
Yeah, that's all they care about. Jeremy Sohan returned after missing a month, 16 points, 14 boards from him. A lot of energy there. Also really great green hair that really stands out as he's running up and down the court. So 3 more games we're going to get to in the next segment here. Pelicans finally getting back in the win column. Ja Morant, though, getting ejected on a terrible call. Let's talk about that coming up here next in today's episode of Locked On NBA Game Night. Today's episode of Locked On NBA Game Night is brought to you by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Get ready to tackle the NFL and NBA action this season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL and NBA all in one place. You know momentum is swinging a certain way. Maybe one team's a second half team. Those lines are always being updated. Get in on them when you get a hunch in the middle of a game. You can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today, and you're going to get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. And thank you for making it Locked On NBA Game Night. Every game, every night, your first listen today and every day. We are 7 days a week covering everything you want. Also, go listen to the Locked On podcast for your favorite team, whether it's NBA, NFL. We got them all covered. Make that your second listen today. So let's move on. 3 more games to get through here. The Memphis Grizzlies beating the Sacramento Kings 115-110. Let's kick it over. I want to hear this one to Locked On Grizzlies host Joe Mullinax here for what happened in this game, because we got to talk about it.
No Ja Morant, no problem. Your superstars ejected stinks for the Memphis Grizzlies, and yet they find a way to pull out a victory thanks to the depth of their bench. I'm Joe Mullinax of Locked On Grizzlies, and it's safe to say that the officials have had better days, right? Both the Sacramento Kings and the Memphis Grizzlies probably not sending Christmas cards to these refs anytime soon. But Ja Morant is the one who got ejected. The Kings had their stars in the fold, and Memphis could have easily have folded once Ja exited the contest. But that's not what happened. The Grizzlies bench scores 60 points in the contest, led by the likes of Santi Aldama, Jake LaRavia, Jay Huff, Marcus Smart continuing to be a shot of life off the bench. You have Brandon Clark continuing to do strong things. Jaren Jackson Jr., Desmond Bane showing flashes of offensive efficiency. It was a big victory for the Grizzlies, even with Ja not on the floor in crunch time. You'll take those when you can get them.
So this was a botched call.
I mean,
look at it. It was so bad. Ja gets called for a foul on DeMar DeRozan, which looked like a bailout call, if anything. Complains, gets a second tech, gets ejected. What'd they say after the game? What did the refs say after the game?
The refs said in live play, they did a pool report, and crew chief Pat Frere said, in live play, the official thought that Morant bumped DeRozan on his jump shot. However, after post-game review, Morant was in legal guarding position and should not have been called for a foul. Oh, okay. So you blew the call, which I was questionable even in real time.
Looking at it, it's like, what did you see there?
And then you compound it by tossing out Memphis's star player. And I understand that Ja was extraordinarily demonstrative in pointing and swearing at the refs. So sure, calm down just a tiny bit, Ja, but I hate when I see an official compound a mistake by throwing a tech and then throwing a guy out on top of it. There should have been a little bit more restraint on both sides here.
Yeah,
but
that's a good way to put it.
Cost them.
Yeah, they won the game as they should have, and it would have been really rough, I think, and we'd be having a different discussion if the Sacramento Kings won this game, but the Memphis Grizzlies did. As Joe said, their bench really stepped up in this one. Watching this game, my takeaway from this with the Memphis Grizzlies is they could use like a slight shot into their starting lineup to upgraded. They're a team that I feel like should try and make some sort of bigger move to upgrade their starting lineup, because those guys weren't winning their minutes and it was the bench that did. And that is not something that you can truly rely on in the postseason at the least. You can win games during the regular season with that, not the postseason. But yeah, that they had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 guys score in double figures. On the flip side, though, for the Sacramento Kings, man, Malik Monk has been so good for them. He kind of single-handedly kept them in it on a night when they were not shooting the ball well. They were just 8 of 35 from 3 in this one. But Malik Monk, man, he's just been good. Starting, coming off the bench, whatever it is.
And he has been. He has been good for them for a while, too. So it's, they need more from their bench. Yeah. And, the Grizzlies need more from their starters. So it's an interesting little kind of mix there. But the Kings, this has got to be a really disappointing. This is a loss that you have to, like, that one hurts.
Yes.
Because, Ja gets tossed and it's 98-98 and you can't close that game out. That is something that the Kings came into this season with a ton of promise. They'd made the move for DeMar DeRozan, and he scored 26, but he was a minus 12 in this game. It's the fit was always kind of like, questionable. It hasn't worked. The entire package hasn't worked for the Sacramento Kings, which is really disappointing. This was supposed to be a much better season for them. What did this drop them to? 10-13.
Yeah,
and they're 3-7 in their last 10. This is a bad stretch for them. To be this far back in the West you're in a really, really tough spot. Even though you're a couple of games out of the play-in, there's so many good teams ahead that
it's about jumping the teams. It's not the games behind. It's how many teams you've got to jump to try and get in there.
All of these teams, like, which of these teams is going to fall out? Like, maybe the Lakers are going to fall out of this playoff picture. So that's Sacramento's only kind of glimmer of hope. But to be out of it even at this point in the West, this is a tough road back. Disappointing loss, disappointing start to the season for Sacramento.
Yeah. Moving on to the New Orleans Pelicans beating the Phoenix Suns 126-124, snapping a 9-game losing streak. Herb Jones made his return. Brandon Ingram made his return. Yeah, being healthy means you can actually win some games here.
How nice
29. Look, this was fun, and I was happy just to get a win and enjoy it. Herb Jones is probably my favorite player in the league, so it was great to see him just doing everything. Brandon Ingram with 29 points leading New Orleans. Look, season's basically over for the Pelicans, though. They're just in too far of a hole here, but it was nice to get the 5th win. No Kevin Durant or Yusuf Nurkic for the Phoenix Suns. Devin Booker, 28 points. Bradley Beal, 24. And then the final game of the night here was the Oklahoma City Thunder beating the Toronto Raptors 129-92. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is good.
He's good. He's a pretty good basketball player. I don't know why
points from him.
Talking about him. Tough shooting night from 3, but still, he's the downhill guy anyway. So they can survive some bad shooting nights from him from 3.
No, look, Toronto's played a little bit better recently, but they, if you don't have a great shooting night from RJ Barrett, who's 5 of 16 just for 17 points, like, they need him to be a 30-point scorer to kind of be that main guy that all those other really good complementary pieces work around. But when he's not that, I don't know, you're going to lose.
Yeah. Toronto's a try-hard team. You gotta go out there and most nights you got to go out there and beat them. This was not one of those nights. This night was, like, I can attest to the Raptors' tenacity. I've been impressed. Like, they played the Celtics really hard when they were in Boston. They don't typically roll over, but woo boy, did they roll over in this one.
They're not winning a ton of games outside of Canada right now. It's kind of how it's been for them all season long. So that's it. 8 games in the association. We covered them all in under 30 minutes here. That's what we do on Locked On NBA Game Night. Every game, every night. 7 more games on Friday. There is a show tomorrow on Saturday recapping it all. Make Locked On NBA Game Night, your first listen every single day to know what's going on around the association. On Fridays, I'm your co-host, Jake Madison, at Nola Jake on Twitter, and the host of the Locked On Pelicans podcast.
And I'm John Karalis, at John_Karalis on Twitter. Hey, John Karalis, no underscore on Blue Sky, just in case. I am the host of the Locked On Celtics podcast.
That's going to do it for this episode of Locked On NBA Game Night. Every game, every night. We'll see y'all next week.